Hello, hello, welcome. Just gonna give this a couple of seconds, seeing some familiar names, welcome. And I'm also going to remember to share my own screen right now. Let me do that real quick. Oops. Okay, there we go. Awesome. Oh, maybe not. There we go. Okay. Thanks. I saw the vigorous head nod, Amy. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking. Oh, there we go.
Yes. Awesome. All right, we're going to get rolling. I want to say thank you everyone very much for joining us today for this particularly exciting nutrition showcase. We've got a lot of new information to share with you. So very, very excited. Thank you for showing up to learn either for yourselves or for the people in your lives. We love to share nutritional education as far as we can go. Before we get rolling into today's topic and yummy recipes, just a little bit of some boring old housekeeping to go through with you all. First of all, I am Gloria. I'm the virtual program coordinator here at Gilda's Toronto, and I'm going to be your technical/social support for this next hour. So at any point throughout this presentation, if you have any questions, comments, concerns that you want to direct towards me, please put them in the chat box. So if you look at the bottom of your Zoom bar, it's got a cute little chat bubble, says chat. That's where you can reach me. If you don't see it down there, you can press the 3 dots that says more, and then the chat button will present itself there. So you can find me there at any point. If you have any questions that you would like to specifically direct to our wonderful chef, Amy, please put those in the Q&A, which is just 2 buttons to the left or to the right of the chat box. To the right, yes. And in fact, somebody is using it right now. Oh, chat is disabled. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Let me fix that right away. And there we go. Okay, so you can now use the chat box, actually. Thank you for letting me know. Yeah, oh, that's the wrong button. It's one of these days. Here we go. Okay, so Q&A to reach Amy and chat box to reach me. There is going to be time sprinkled throughout where Amy's going to be answering your questions. However, if we don't get to your specific question right away, there will also be time dedicated at the end to answer any questions that you might have. So no worries, no stress if we don't get your questions answered right away. This is a webinar, so we cannot see you, we cannot hear you. So really the chat box and the Q&A are the only way for us to be interacting with each other throughout this next hour. This presentation is being recorded, so if you have registered, you will be getting an email afterwards that has a nice little packaged YouTube link for you, so you can come back and watch this whenever you want. So thank you for being live if you are, but also hello from the future potentially if you're watching a recording of this. And finally, if at any point you have anything that you would like to direct or inquire about at Gilda's Toronto, please send us an email at program@gildasclubtoronto.org. Someone is always monitoring that inbox, so that's the best place to get some quick responses. Now, for the next hour, the wonderful Chef Amy Symington is going to be sharing her wonderful knowledge with us. So I'm going to do a little bit of reading to get to know her a bit, and then we'll get rolling. Amy is a nutrition professor, researcher, and nutrition-focused chef at George Brown College in Toronto, Canada. She runs the culinary nutrition program at Gilda's Toronto, including the nutrition showcases, webinars, and supper club programming when we were in person. Hopefully it will come back soon. Amy also works with the UHN, University Health Network, and the Canadian Liver Foundation, providing culinary nutrition demonstrations for patients. She volunteers with the Toronto Veg Food Bank as a chef and nutrition consultant and does recipe development and food writing for various publications in Toronto. Amy believes in the evidence-based health and environmental benefits of whole plant-based diets and is the recent author of the Long Table Cookbook, Plant-Based Recipes for Optimal Health, and its companion, which you're going to learn about today. So without further ado, Amy, this is all yours.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Gloria, for that lovely introduction. As Gloria mentioned, I love nutrition and I love cooking, so much so that I'm also doing my PhD right now at the University of Toronto in nutritional sciences. So it never ends, the learning, which is great because then I can share it with you. So welcome. Thank you so much for taking the time out of your very busy schedules to learn a little bit more about cancer nutrition. And so as Gloria mentioned, today is a very, 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 very exciting day because I have two brand new resources. Actually, sorry, one brand new resource and one updated resource. So for those of you who are familiar with our programming, there's a lot of online resources that are free. One of which we just recently updated, so a community guide to cancer nutrition. And we did print, just for my own personal library, print a couple of these, but this is free and online. And this is a community guide to cancer nutrition. So this was just recently updated with all the latest cancer nutrition research. So that's online and free. So check that out. This talks about what to consume for cancer prevention, what to consume during treatment, and what to consume to prevent reoccurrence. And it goes into great detail about the specific foods, but then it also talks a lot about dietary patterns because, of course, we don't just eat one food, right? It's everything collectively. So it goes into detail about that. So that's great. It goes into great detail. So that's online on the Gilda's website. And then drum roll, this is our newest resource. You may be able to see it. Let's see here. Perfect. Okay. This is our Community Guide to Cancer Nutrition Companion Cookbook. So myself and Dr. Christine Hott put together some recipes. And then I had previously, from our previous showcases, in regards to side effects for cancer and its treatment, put together a concise, consolidated book of all of the cancer side effects and the things that you can do in terms of consumption. So the foods to consume, the foods to avoid, and then any hot tips and tricks for side effects and symptoms of cancer and its treatment. So those are all in there. All of the majority of them. If I'm missing any of them, please let me know because we'll add it to the online version. So this is also free and online. So if you just go to the Gilda's website under the Cancer Nutrition Resources, both are there. Both are downloadable PDFs, and you can share them far and wide. And there's about 25 recipes that go along with the foods to consume, the foods to avoid, and the tips and tricks. So we created it's about 25 to 30 recipes if we're talking about the sub recipes too, that directly go with the advice and suggestions in terms of how to manage side effects and symptoms. So definitely check that out. I'm actually going to share my screen so I can show you where it is online. But yeah, it's free. Download it, share it far and wide. And what I'm going to do today is I'll just go over a few examples of side effects that we see with cancer treatment, and then I'll show you some of the new recipes that we just developed. Okay, so I'm gonna my screen in just a second here, and then I'll show you where to go to find our new resources. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yep.
Awesome. So if you go to the Gilda, you can see at the top here, Gilda's Club, gildasclubtoronto.org/cancer nutrition. You can actually, so this is the top of the website, so cancer nutrition resources. And then we have the ones that I was just talking about. So this one was just recently updated with new research. This is the one that we just created, equipped with recipes. And then, of course, there's some other fun stuff down here if you've never navigated on the website before. These are some kind of fun stop animation videos of some of the recipes from the Long Table Cookbook, which is another cancer nutrition resource or chronic disease related resource that myself and a team of researchers and recipe developers put together. So again, if this is your first time joining, this is what we kind of have been basing the majority of our nutrition showcases off of. All of the recipes come from it, and I'm pointing over here because I have it in the background. But yeah, the Long Table Cookbook, Plant-Based Recipes for Optimal Health, which talks about all the chronic diseases, including cancer, and the dietary pattern that you want to consume to reduce your risk. So that's there too, but this is what we're focusing on today, are these guys. And so we go to the Cancer Nutrition Companion Cookbook. It's just, yeah, as I said, a downloadable PDF. So really well put together. I'm very proud of it. So check it out. As I said, it's free. And it goes into, as you can see, all the different eating related side effects that can occur and what to do for those. Any of the health and well-being side effects and tips and tricks there. And then the respective recipes that go along with it. And so for each section, we scroll down, there's a little intro. For each section, so for example, starting with dry mouth, goes into what to consume, so diet and eating recommendations, and then it provides recipes that directly correspond to that particular side effect or symptom. So you can see here ones that recipes that are recommended to help with that. So this is a really great resource if you're a caretaker or you're someone that is looking to help someone who's going through cancer. This is something that you could potentially do, is make these delicious foods for them. Yeah, so that's about it. So check it out. There's all sorts of great pictures and obviously amazing recipes. I'm biased, but I think they're pretty tasty, nutrient dense, and also great for managing those pesky side effects. Cool. Okay, so I'm going to go over just a couple, and then we'll demo some recipes. So we'll do the fact component first, and then the fun component, which is the practical application of that nutrition knowledge. Okay, so cancer treatment can introduce a laundry list of side effects and can further create unnecessary worry during an already stressful time. So I'm going to discuss some tips, tricks, and foods that can be consumed to cope with a few of the common side effects. But know that those resources are online, and you can check those out at any given time, or share it with a loved one at any given time. Yeah, so I'm just going to give you some quick tips and tricks, and then we'll dive into the recipes. So common side effects of cancer treatment include things like changes in taste and smell, headaches, dry mouth, any sort of GI issues, so bloating, constipation, diarrhea, you name it, all of the above in terms of GI issues or gastrointestinal issues. Brain fog is a big one, fatigue, nausea, and then of course reduced immune function, which is a big one. Now, a few of these we've already done nutrition showcases on this year, so check those out. Any of the previous nutrition showcases are on the website as well, and they're recorded, and you can watch those as Gloria said in the future if you like. But yeah, so the ones I'm going to focus on today include changes in taste and smell, headaches, and dry mouth. So changes in taste and smell, that's a big one, and probably the most, not the most annoying, but up there, especially if you're really into food and you love eating. Things like after chemotherapy treatment in particular, you can get like a metallic or bitter taste in your mouth. Not having much taste or smell at all is another side effect. Foods taste either too salty or too sweet, or too smelly is a big one as well. Yeah, smells and tastes in general can just be absolutely overwhelming. And it can obviously, all of these things can obviously negatively affect someone's appetite. So tips and tricks. So using, this is what one big one. So I always think back to when my mom was going through chemotherapy, all of the things that I did that were helpful, some that were not helpful, and I learned a lot there. But using a kitchen fan when you're cooking can quickly eliminate any sort of smells. Cooking outside is another one too. I remember cooking a lot of her meals using the barbecue as like a stove top. So I'd be cooking in pans and pots and pans on the barbecue outside to alleviate smell inside. That was really helpful because then she was able to actually consume some of the food afterwards. So I found when I was cooking inside and it was too smelly, that was really off-putting, and then she wasn't actually able to consume food at the time. Yeah, when cooking, lifting lids away from you to prevent direct contact with the smell of cooking foods if it's just kind of like a milded version that you're having at that time. If you have that metallic taste in your mouth, try eating with chopsticks is one I use, like say that one, or wooden spoons, or ones that aren't metallic. That's obviously going to increase the metallic taste. Cooking food in glass pots and pans rather than metal ones, although I know it is a bit trickier, but it might actually help. Sometimes things like boiling water and that sort of stuff takes a little bit longer when you're using glass, but it could help with the metallic taste. Keeping your oral hygiene up to keep foods tasting better. Cooking outside, as I mentioned, to minimize smells. And then the types of foods that you may want to consume to help with this side effect is chilling your foods ahead of time, keeping drinks and meals cold or chilled, especially if that's the only way you can tolerate taste, tolerate the taste. So, you know, making things extra cold by adding ice cubes, or, you know, sometimes people put plates in the fridge to make, you know, the plate really cold, and then anything that gets touched on the surface of the plate makes it cold, and then it's kind of numbs your taste buds, and then it's not overpowering. You could also drink smoothies. Citrus fruit and sour foods in general can be really helpful. There's a great recipe in the new companion cookbook. It's a cranberry citrus sauce that goes into this overnight chia pudding that's really nice and tart, and that was the main reason why we put that recipe in there, was to help with that metallic taste. So citrus fruit and sour foods in general are helpful. And then things like frozen fruit, popsicles, smoothies, milkshakes. And then sometimes if the cooking itself is what's really setting things off, focusing more on foods that don't actually need to be cooked. So I'm going to show you, I have a really nice salad and salad dressing today that's nutrient dense, and also in the new resource. Okay, so headaches may have different symptoms. So pinpointing the symptoms may help your healthcare team with the treatment of them. So keeping in mind the timing of them, the frequency of them, triggers, duration, the location, and the severity. So mild to more severe, and then the quality. So is it throbbing? Is it stabbing? Is it dull? These are all good things to write down, so you can take that to your healthcare team, and then they can potentially give you some advice as to how to alleviate them, or what type of headache it is, right? Some tips and tricks. So some of these are easier said than done, but just keep them in mind. So one or two may work for you. So meditating quietly, or other relaxation methods. So music, or maybe you want complete silence, so just dark and completely silent, or maybe some, you know, nice waves in the background, whatever works for you. Taking a cold or hot bath, depending on, again, what works for you with the lights out. Cold or hot compresses on the back of your neck has been shown to actually help as well. So again, whatever works for you in terms of temperature. Getting a massage if it's recommended by your healthcare team, of course. And then I know this might sound a bit counterintuitive, because at the time you're not really wanting to move, but sometimes regular mild to moderate exercise may help minimize headache symptoms and reduce the frequency of them, particularly if they're migraines. And then I mentioned writing things down. So keeping a diary to pinpoint triggers like the time of day or any specific foods, so you can then reduce them. Some foods in particular that have been shown to increase headaches and or migraines. Reducing caffeine consumption if needed, sometimes that's a trigger. Increasing water and ensuring that you're properly hydrated, that is a huge one. So just drinking all the time, essentially. Water preferably, but if you wanted to, throw in some lemon juice, or any sort of citrus into it, cucumber, strawberries, to give your water a little extra zip, go for that. And then you also get a little bit of vitamin C in there too. Making sure that you're eating electrolyte foods or drinking electrolyte-rich beverages, and that will help with staying hydrated, which can also minimize the occurrence of headaches. So yeah, potassium chloride, magnesium, calcium, and sodium. Of course, sodium is a lot easier to get than other foods, or other micronutrients. So that one's not as big of a concern. And then minimizing or eliminating the consumption of high sugar processed foods might be a trigger. So sugars might be a trigger, as same with things like chocolate. And I mentioned coffee already. That's a common one. Okay, and then dry mouth is the last one that I'll focus on today. But I guess, as you know, there are so many symptoms. So please, again, check out the new resource. Dry mouth occurs when the body's saliva glands don't produce enough saliva while chewing or swallowing. And this makes tasting and talking obviously very difficult. So some tips and tricks. using a homemade mouthwash, so things like baking soda and water. I highly recommend not using a mouthwash that contains alcohol, because that can be more can actually be more painful in the end. So you know, the baking soda and water combination might work for you. Keeping water bottles with you so you can just sip throughout the day, which is great advice for anyone, not just people who have dry mouth, but everyone. You want to make sure that you're staying hydrated. And then taking small sips of a liquid prior to chewing to help moisten and break down the foods. This is a really helpful one, particularly if you have dry mouth. Moisturizing lip balm is another one too. I sometimes find you have to figure it out for yourself, what works best. But I sometimes find if you use things like lipstick and stuff like that, that can be even more drying. So really trying to find ones that are moisturizing. And then again, keeping your oral hygiene up to snuff, which to do anyways. And then types of foods, staying hydrated with water, of course, fresh pressed juice, herbal teas, trying to, if you're a huge caffeine drinker, trying to maybe minimize or replace those high caffeinated beverages, just because they can be a little bit dehydrating. And then including lots of water-rich fruits and vegetables in your diet, eating popsicles, drinking smoothies, slushies, whatever it is you like to do. Get those into you. And yeah, keeping your food moist with sauces, dressings, and dips to make it easier to swallow. There's a bunch in the new, a bunch of recipes in the new cookbook that are great. There's one in particular. It's a Romanesca sauce. It's like a red pepper sauce that is unbelievable. Everyone needs to try it. You can use it as a dip. You can also use it as like a pasta sauce. It is one of my favorite recipes in the book, so check that out. Try blended or pureed foods for easier swallowing. So if you're really having issues like maybe some dysphagia, even not just the dry mouth, blending or pureeing foods can be easier. And you might need to adjust the consistency depending on how thick or thin you can handle in terms of swallowing, whatever is best for you. And then avoiding foods that are too spicy, sour, salty, or crunchy can also potentially help with dry mouth, but also any sort of pain that comes from dry mouth, right? And then in another one that's a big one is avoiding alcohol, because that can be obviously dehydrating and dehydrating for your body, but also for your mouth. Okay, cool. And so that's just a couple examples of some of the side effects. Again, in the new resource, you can find more information about them, and then also some other side effects as well, because we all know that there's way more than 3, unfortunately. So yeah, so now I'm going to demo 3 of my favorite recipes from the new resource. Green Dream Smoothie is one, pesto potato soup is another, and then I'm going to show you how to make a lemon tahini dressing, and then I'll show you the salad that I made for it to go over. So yeah, lots to do in, we've got 35 minutes, but I want to leave some time for questions too. So we'll zip right through these recipes. And of course, if you have any questions, comments, concerns, just pop them in the Q&A there. And at points where it's appropriate, I'll get maybe Gloria to read them out to me. Okay, cool. So we'll spotlight my kitchen now. Please and thank you. And I'll have a little drink of water. Stay hydrated. Okay. Can everyone see my setup here? You all good? Okay, awesome. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, cool. So we're gonna start with the pesto potato soup because it takes a little bit longer. So right now I've just got a pot. It's on medium heat, and I'm gonna add a little bit of olive oil. We'll toss that in. I like olive oil. I'm not cooking at a high heat here, so I'm not going to hit the smoke point. It's not going to start to smoke on me. And it's a good source of monounsaturated monounsaturated fatty acids, which are a great component of it. Okay, now I'm going to throw in 1 diced onion. And so again, all these recipes are in the new resource online, and they're free, so share them. That's simple. Onions, garlic, Allumium vegetables, which are a good component of an anti-cancer diet, very high in, and add great flavor. But of course, if this is something that, if you're adverse to smells right now, onions and garlic might not be ideal. So I would recommend omit them and just stick with the stock to add the flavor. Or as I said, you could do it outside as well. Okay, now I'm going to add some garlic. So garlic is a good source of allicin, which is a very powerful antioxidant. We'll throw that in, and it tastes great. This is going to be a pureed soup, so it's going to be a lot easier to, and it's going to moisten that dry mouth. This is a good food to consume. Oh my goodness, so smelling. And then I'm going to toss in about 5 cups of potato. Yes, you can have potato. That's a question I often get. It's really, I mean, potatoes are actually great for you. They're a good source of fiber, good source of potassium. It's really when you're, using them like for French fries and things like that that are super deep fried, and yeah, it's really what you do with the potato that makes the difference. Not to say you should never have French fries again, because that would be silly. Okay. I've got the potatoes in there. Now I'm going to add some stock. So I've got about 3 cups of veg stock that I made with all of the scraps from the onions, from the garlic. I actually put up a little bit of carrot and tossed it in there too. Threw in a bay leaf. I'll actually show it to you. Got it right here. And then I filled it up with water, probably about 5 or 6 cups, because it obviously boils off. And then I strain it, and I've got some homemade veg stock, it's for free, low sodium, and all sorts of nutrients in it. Add that in. Now I may need to add some additional water, we'll see, just when I'm pureeing it. So now I'm going to cover this, and I'm going to let it cook for about 10 minutes. And then I will add in some coconut milk, some fresh peas, good source of protein and fiber and antioxidants, and then some salt. And that's it. The soup is so simple. And then obviously we still need to make our pesto, because it is a pesto potato soup. But this is it for the soup component. And now we'll move on to the pesto, which is equally as easy to make. So I'll get these guys out of the way. And now, pesto ingredients. So for the pesto, I'm just using basil. Surprise, surprise. Fresh herbs are great because they're a leafy green. They're also a source of iron and folate and fiber, obviously. So get them into you as much as possible. I mean, leafy greens, I always say eat those at least once a day, and herbs do qualify as leafy greens. Then I've got some, instead of pine nuts, because they're super expensive, although if you got them, use them. I'm using ground blanched almonds. They don't have to be ground and blanched. This is just, I find this just a lot easier when they're already like this, and I happen to have some in the freezer. And then garlic, and then water, and of course some olive oil. Very olive oil. 1 second. I'm missing my olive oil. I found it. Perfect. And I've got about 1/4 cup of olive oil. And so what you do is near the end, once you put all the ingredients in, then I slowly pour the olive oil in. So all that you need to do for this is just toss it into a blender and blend. So I like to actually keep the stems. They're not too hardy. I like to keep the stems of the basil. The stems I tend to have more calcium. So I'm just going to toss those right in. Put in my garlic clove. You could add more if you're feeling adventurous. I've got about 1/4 cup of the ground blanched almonds. Again, this recipe is in the book online. And then I'm going to add about 1/2 cup of water. Maybe And what I'm going to do, I'm going to get this started on the blender, and then I'm going to slowly pour in the olive oil. Okay, so while I'm doing that, I'm going to get you to talk amongst yourselves. Maybe there's a fun event that Gloria wants to tell you about, but I'll go on mute so you don't have to hear the blender going.
Yes, thank you. So upcoming, I am going to plug let me show you my face, our education sessions that we have coming up. So we've got some really cool, interesting ones. The one that we have in May is about gentle parenting and learning how to recognize signs of depression and obsessive compulsiveness in your children. So that's really interesting, and she's showing us the olive oil going in. So I encourage you all to register for these as usual. This one is going to be recorded. So if you're not able to make it live to any of our education sessions, just in general, most of them are recorded and are shared through email to anybody who registers. So I do encourage you to still register anyways. Maybe you'll be able to go back at a later date and learn something. Back to Amy.
So I've blended it up. It's a little thinner than a pesto just because we're going to be adding it to the soup. You see here. Doesn't that look nice? So green. So I tried to pick recipes today that were spring inspiring. I'm also wearing my grandmother's lovely floral shirt that I love so much for the summertime, trying to get that spring to us, or maybe surpass that spring to the summer. It's very chilly in Toronto the last week or two. Anywho, okay, so we're doing all things green today. So I've got the pesto going here, so that's done. You could, if you wanted to skip a step and wanted to make it even easier, you can use a store-bought pesto. That's totally fine. Here's one that I like, that I use quite frequently if I'm not wanting to make a pesto, or I'm not able to find basil that's good and fresh. This is one, and I'm not getting paid. I just really like this one, and it actually uses sunflower seeds, so it's even more affordable. That's another thing too. If you're allergic to nuts, you can use sunflower seeds in that. Again, almonds and sunflower seeds are both good sources of vitamin E, which is it's a vitamin, but it's also an antioxidant. So it helps to fight those free radicals in your body. So that's great too. So I'm going to set this aside. We've got the pesto going. That's done. Check. Actually, I'm going to be needing the blender. So I will put the pesto into a different container here. I'll give it a little wash. Side. Check out our potatoes. How they're doing. Not quite there yet, so pour them back. And we'll let that go for a bit. Okay. Question in the Q&A.
Oh, one just came in. So what was the store-bought pesto? I have already forgotten. I'll just type out the name if you can repeat it.
Yeah, it's Sunflower Kitchen. I'll show it again. Sunflower Kitchen basil pesto.
Perfect.
You saw how easy it was to make too, but I mean, honestly, this stuff is great too. They generally use a bit more oil than I normally would use. That's probably the only downfall. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good question. Okay, cool. So while that's going, I'm going to now do our salad. So, easy peasy. Also, I should mention with the pesto, I didn't put any salt in it yet because I'm going to taste it at the very end, the soup at the very end, and add sodium. But if you were making that as an actual pesto, I would recommend adding a little bit of salt in there. Of course, unless of course you're salt averse right now, and if things are too salty, then don't add it at all. Grilling. We'll bring it down a little bit. So the salad that I want to make for you, super, super, super easy. So this is also in the new companion cookbook. So there, it's under grain bowls. So I haven't added any grains to this particular salad today, but you could add anything from quinoa to bulgur to brown rice or wild rice. I'm just using mixed greens. I've got some fennel in there. I've got some carrots. I've got some cabbage. Yeah, just mixed greens. I've got broccoli sprouts that are super yummy. Broccoli sprouts, really, really good, really high in antioxidants and a good source of a good component of an anti-cancer diet. Any cruciferous vegetable is, and if you've been to any of my workshops before, I always recommend eating a cruciferous vegetable every single day. So, you know, broccoli, cauliflower, kale, arugula, cabbage, like you find in here. But yeah, fennel is really great if you're having any sort of digestive issues, nausea. It can be really nice to include, and helps with upset tummies. So yeah, so that's what's in my salad. Now let's make the salad dressing. Really easy dressing. This is a lemon tahini. It was very, very, very straightforward. A reamer here, or a juicer, I should say. This is my grandmother's, and it comes in handy often. Okay, cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my lemon and I'm going to roll it, get the juices flowing, and then we'll slice it in half. Now at this point, I mean, you could save the zest for other things. You know, if you're baking, I always like to throw in some zest into the wet ingredients, just to give it an oomph of flavor without adding sugar. I love saving the zest, and it's also been shown to contain, again, some beneficial properties in the actual skin, or in terms of cancer nutrition, that is. Don't want to forget about this scoop over here. So good. Great. Okay. And I want to get those seeds out. And that, so lemons, again, great. Have that nice tartness. If you have any sort of metallic issues with tasting these days, citrus is always great. So this is a good dressing for that. It's also high in protein because it contains tahini, which is essentially ground sesame seeds. So this is what I'm using for tahini. You can use whatever you like. It's just the one that I happen to have on hand. And so again, the recipe is in the book, but there's about 1 lemon, so about a 1/4 cup. And then I'm going to put in 3 tablespoons of tahini. Oh, nice and creamy. And then, in addition to that, I'm going to add some maple syrup. So I should say too, sesame seeds also rich in good healthy fats and vitamin D as well. Okay, so I've just put in a little bit of maple syrup. It's just to balance the acid and fat. Anytime you're making any sort of dressing, it's good to have, I always say the ratio is generally like 2/3 acid to 1/3 fat, but it really depends on the type of dressing you're wanting to make and what it's going on. So yeah, so I've added a little bit of maple syrup to balance the acid and the fat. And I'm going to add in a little bit of salt. And then I'm going to chop up some dill. Bring in the old cutting board here. This dressing, you can put any kind of herbs in it. I like dill, obviously lemon and tahini go really nicely with dill. Dill is probably my favorite herb. So just chop that up really fine. And it makes such a nice fresh salad. Again, giving an oomph of flavor without added salt, sugar, or unhealthy fats, which is nice. And as I was saying, herbs are a leafy green, which we want to get into our diet at least once a day. At least, I say. Okay, and then we're going to put a little clove of garlic in there too. So I'm just going to use my rasp to finely puree it. You could mince it or chop it. You don't mind getting bigger pieces of garlic. Yum. Again, allicin, really powerful antioxidants that's found in garlic. Okay, and then we're just going to shake it up. Hold on to it while you're shaking it. Okay, sometimes I find the tahini doesn't break up. Depends on how old or new your tahini is or how well mixed it is. Really want to make sure this is nice. This is a good one to make ahead too. Of course, you wouldn't put the fresh herbs in until you were about to serve. The one thing is if you are adding garlic, garlic oil combination, you don't want to leave more than a day because it can increase the risk of botulism. So we don't want to do that. So use the dressing up within a day if you're putting the garlic in. Otherwise, you could make it, the tahini lemon combo ahead of time and then just add the garlic and the fresh herbs in right beforehand. Okay, so that tahini is nicely mixed in. Okay. And then what I like to add it to anything is try it first to see if it needs any acid or sweetness. Nope. That is delicious. Okay, we're good to go there. If it was, say, too oily, you would need to add a little bit of acid. If it was too acidic, maybe you'd need to add a little bit of sweetness to it. This is great. Awesome. Dressing done. Check. Let's peek in at our soup for a second. Just looking good. Okay. Close. Close for that one. Great. I'm going to dress the salad for you. Awesome. Okay, I'll bring back in. And I've also roasted some chickpeas too. So I've roasted some chickpeas. This recipe is in the Long Table Cookbook. It's just already cooked chickpeas, so you can use canned or you can cook them from dried. And then you're patting them dry. Then you're tossing them in olive oil with a little bit of garlic powder and then a little bit of salt. And that's it. And then you roast them in the oven. It's about 20 minutes. And then you've got some nice crunchy chickpeas. And obviously chickpeas are a great source of protein. So I'll put those on in just a second. I'm going to add the dressing now. Beautiful. And then I'll top with yummy crunchy chickpeas. You could throw some more herbs in here if you wanted to. As I said, I've got broccoli sprouts, but whatever you want. That look beautiful, right? Okay, cool. So I'll set that aside for now. We're gonna check in on the soup, see how she's doing. She's ready to go. We'll bring back in our other friends here, the coconut milk and some peas and our pesto. And I've also got one version here. So we are going to blend it. As I said, it is a pureed soup. Mouth issues or any sort of dysphagia. So we're going to add in coconut milk. So it's just 1 can, so 400 milliliters. And we're going to add 2 cups of green peas. These were frozen. I just let them sit out and thaw a little bit. You could add frozen directly in. It would just take a minute or two.
Amy, we've just got a quick question about the chickpeas. 20 minutes at what temperature?
Oh, yeah, it's in the book. It's 425.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then what I do is I'll shake them. It's in the instructions as well. In the cookbook. You just you shake them like maybe halfway through cooking. You then kind of shake them around so that the ones on the outside don't get burnt and the ones on the inside get a chance to get crispy crunchy too. Yeah, that one's super easy. There's tons of chickpea crunchy chickpea recipes out there, but that one's the easiest. And you can change up the spices too. It doesn't just have to be garlic powder. You could put smoked paprika. You could put whatever you want, whatever you're making them for, whatever the theme is of the meal that you're making. Okay, cool. So I've got the pesto and I've got a little bit of salt here that we're gonna taste. I keep losing my teeth. Okay, we'll stir in those green peas. You could honestly serve it like this. You don't have to puree it. This would be nice too. And then adding in the pesto. But I'm going to show you what it looks like when it is pureed. So at this point, I'm going to add in half of the pesto, and then I save the other half for a garnish. Really just want to make sure for each bowl that you're serving that you have like 2 tablespoons just for garnish. And doesn't this inspire spring weather? Hopefully summer weather soon. And again, really full, and everything we're making is really full in fiber and obviously antioxidants. And I always make sure to have a good source of protein at every single meal, particularly if you're going through cancer treatment. That's a whole nother a nutrition showcase that we've done in the past, but your protein needs do increase as you go through treatment. Okay, so is this loud, Gloria?
No, we don't hear it.
Just wanted to make sure it was manageable. I wasn't hurting everybody's ears. You could put this in a blender, but you would obviously want to be very careful and making sure you're taking the top off to allow for heat to be released. I'm just using a hand immersion blender because I'm uber cautious and it's easier to clean. And I always do this away from myself. So if it does spray, it sprays away from me. That color was beautiful. Depending on how thick and smooth you'd like it, go in, put it into the blender if you like. Decide. I'm actually going to try the store-bought pesto with as the garnish before I do that. Oh, it definitely does because I haven't put any in. That stock was completely sodium free. Stir that in. Hmm? Now we'll plate it. Doesn't that look beautiful so far? Do a little bit of pesto. And then I like to put a little drizzle of olive oil on. So this is fancy garnishing here. You don't have to do this. You could just eat the soup as is. But we'll do a little bit of, I'm gonna put a little bit of pesto. We're getting our greens in. We're getting our fat in, our good healthy fat. Easy to swallow. And I've got a little bit of coconut cream that I reserved. Just again, give it a little pizzazz. Right? And then a little bit of olive oil just on top. And my mom's in her bottles. Doesn't that look beautiful? Okay, and then we'll throw on some basil. And you have to put sprouts on this now. Look at how beautiful that looks without the sprouts. And again, I'm using broccoli sprouts and basil sprouts. I feel like this is a masterpiece without the sprouts. Yeah, let's see. Let's take that. Put sprouts on there though. I think that looks great. Maybe I'll try again in just a sec. I want to make sure that to do the smoothie, which is so quick and easy. Any questions so far? We're hitting everything.
No questions, just a comment says, very nice. We also eat with our eyes, so presentation makes a difference.
Yeah, you know, just because, you know, you have some taste aversions or any sort of side, it doesn't mean you shouldn't be eating well. Or you know, can't enjoy your food. I'll give you a little close up of that guy. Ba-bam. Yeah. I want to be cognizant of time. We're just going to put all of these yummy things in the blender. And so this is my green kind of goddess smoothie. I should say these recipes were developed by myself and Christine Holtz, who is a wonderful human being, and also she has a PhD in nutrition as well. And yeah, she put a lot of tender loving care in the recipes. This one in particular was her brainchild. So all I have here is, and this is the idea of this is to be, if you're not able to consume any food and you're not feeling like eating at all, this is a great kind of meal replacement. We've got a banana, rich in potassium, Toss it in. That's going to help us stay hydrated. I'm going to throw in 2 cups of spinach. Sorry, this is 1 cup of spinach. In the recipe, again, online, it says 2 cups and it makes 6 servings. This one, I'm only going to make 3 servings. And then I'm tossing in some mint, some fresh mint. That's going to be, you know, brighten the flavor up, but also adding in those leafy greens. I'm going to add in 2 cups, actually, sorry, 1.5 cups of soy milk, unsweetened. You can use whatever milk of your choice that you prefer. I'm going to add in some almond butter. Extra protein and vitamin E. Some hemp seeds, good source of complete protein, but also omega-3 fatty acids. So get those into you. And then I am going to add a little bit of maple syrup. This is optional depending on how ripe your banana is. Put that in. Extra calories if needed, right? And then some vanilla to make it seem like a milkshake. Okay. And then you could put an avocado in this as well. If you really wanted to add additional fat. I'm going to omit it for today, but this is also an option too. I would put, for this amount, I would put half an avocado. This is a large one too. But yeah, avocados go in smoothies and they are delicious. So don't shy away from them. But yeah, I'm going to omit mine for today. And I'm going to blend these up. So talk amongst yourselves for 30 seconds.
I don't have anything to plug for this current blending. So I'm just going to give a thank you to all of you who attend and participate in our programs, the nutrition showcase that happens every month, all of our regular weekly and monthly programs, things like yoga, Zumba, mindfulness meditation, if you're one of our members. And if you're not a member who comes here and engages with our content every single month, so nutrition showcases and education webinars, there we go, I forgot the word. Just thank you, a really, really big thank you for showing up and for engaging with our content, for educating yourselves, and for hopefully passing on any knowledge that you gain through these webinars and education sessions onto the other people in your life. So that's all.
Thank you, that was great, Gloria. Doesn't hurt to be thankful in life, right? Grateful for everybody. Okay, cool. So I just blended it up nice and smooth. Check that in. They kind of have the same color. That's okay. A lot of green happening today. We love it. We love green. Okay, and so there you have it. So I have the green smoothie. That's kind of a new placement. So just meaning it's very high in protein, very calorically dense. Even more so if you add the avocado, of course. And I've got the salad with the lemon tahini dressing. I am going to add some sprouts to this one though. We'll add some more sprouts to this guy. But I'm going to leave this because I think it's done. That looks beautiful. And there you have it. 3 easy recipes for cancer nutrition side effects from our brand new Cancer Nutrition Companion Cookbook. So please, please, please check it out online. Share it far and wide. There's all sorts of great resources, tips, tricks. I always say I wish something like this had existed when my mom was going through treatment, because it would have been super helpful. So I hope it's super helpful for you. And just a big thank you again for taking the time out of your busy schedules for yourselves today. And bon appetit. Have a great day, and hopefully that spring weather finds us soon. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Amy. Take care, everyone.